councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you were with us, or you were with the terrorists.
But I also believe a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Guns will be taken, and no one will be able to be armed. We're going to take all guns.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Global governance at last. Is it one world? The central bankers in charge. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
As for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and I want to thank you for joining us this Patriots Day, 15th day of April 2013. Obviously, when you have a global corporate occupational government run by foreign banks that has been caught staging terror attacks all over the world, and that's declassified, and when you read about Operation Gladio, we're going to cover, where in Europe, if a left-wing or right-wing group started getting control of a country through the electoral process, who was not popular with the Bilderberg group, they would just stage terror attacks and blame it on them. So because we understand this history, we would be fools. We would be completely insane not to investigate this as a false flag terror attack. So I want to cover some of the facts of what's currently happening with the Patriots Day massacre, as they're now calling it, with the bombing of the Boston Marathon right there with the photo finish right at the end of the course. But you need to understand this. I have been warning you desperately, because it's all public in globalist white papers and different public publications, that the establishment has been saying that there will be domestic terror attacks here in the United States, and that domestic groups are going to be carrying those out. And they put out the asinine headlines that the Army plans to put down a Tea Party rebellion, and that the Tea Party is going to work with Al-Qaeda. Let me tell you who works with Al-Qaeda. It's the Central Intelligence Agency and the offshore banks. They run Al-Qaeda. They created Al-Qaeda. They use Al-Qaeda to menace the West into submission. And when you look at the level and the magnitude of the dramas and the sitcoms and all of the other productions that are out there, where the right-wingers are going to stage the terror attack, the right-wingers are going to carry out all these different events. For someone who is conscious and awake, it is as plain as the nose on your face that as a society, and guys, I'm getting a feed into my ear, a humming feed, so they got a channel open, probably from the other side into my ear. That's why I had to take the piece out. A little hint on that. Thank you. I also hope that you understand that when you watch so-called mainstream globalist media, that they have reporters for a couple minutes reading off teleprompters who've rehearsed it for hours, who come on to look compelling and real, reading what someone else told them to say. When you see me up here, or my crew, this is teleprompter free, real brain, real analysis, this is real. And I hope that all the viewers out there understand how special Infowars.com is, because we're fighting to even keep it up and running. I hope you realize that there is no other alternative media doing real live news, real analysis from a real historical perspective. It's all left-wing controlled or right-wing controlled. There is no real media out there. And I've got a skeleton crew out there that is probably into hour number 14 today, doing the regular radio show, the TV show, all of it. And I'm not up here complaining about that. I want you to realize that we are the resistance. And yes, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, everything we're doing is having more and more of an effect on so many fronts. And so the good news is when the White House comes out and demonizes the Drudge Report, or comes out and has their surrogates attack Infowars.com and myself, their surrogates like Media Matters and others, openly run by the White House, it shows that we're in the fight. They wouldn't be attacking us if we weren't on to what was really happening. Now, let me just get this out in the open for everybody. The New York Post is reporting 12 dead, nearly 50 injured after 2 explosions rock Boston Marathon. Suspect identified and being guarded at hospital. And they're saying a Saudi Arabian. But separately, we have clips we're going to play in a moment of CNN. I mean, it's ad nauseum, and Fox and MSNBC saying, could it be right-wingers? It's Patriot Day. You know, they had other Patriot events in the area. Could this be, you know, carried out by them? And I went on the radio today 2 hours, well, really 3 hours before this happened, at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern. And I said, all the hype and media buildup I see clearly is pointing towards the establishment firing the first shot but blaming it on us. Because whoever fires the shot heard around the world first has a good chance of losing because they're in the wrong. So I said the establishment will fire the first shot but blame it on us, just like Lexington and Concord, which actually happened again in and around Boston 200 and something years ago today. Started today through the 19th. There were events and skirmishes. So you have to understand, if the globalist can demonize liberals, conservatives, libertarians, whatever the case is, whoever's opposing them, by setting off a bombing, a mass shooting, and then collectively blaming a group, they will do it. So you have to understand, it's not gun owners' fault Sandy Hook happened. They collectively try to tell us that's our fault. That's a fraud on its face. The proliferation of gun ownership in the last 20 years, we've shown the FBI numbers ad nauseum, 49% drop in violent crime. But they can take individual events and hype them up where you feel like it's just happened to you, using your basic human empathy, because they know you're a good person. And they sit there like psychopathic, sociopathic technocrats, punching those buttons that make you a human, that make you a good person. And so first, before I get into all this news, I want to play a clip off a YouTube video we shot about 4 hours ago where CNN was already, within a few hours of this event happening, saying, could it be right-wing extremist? And even though the narrative has now come out that it could be a Saudi Arabian al-Qaeda group, they're still on MSNBC, as we speak, right before I went live, saying it's probably right-wingers. Now, I said first, the minute it happened with Richard Belzer, the actor and writer on, I said, watch, they'll try to blame it on libertarians, conservatives. And he agreed. Now, I had everybody from Glenn Beck to Salon to Media Matters to Media Light to BBC come out and attack us tonight and say, how dare Alex Jones say the government could be involved. Now Glenn Beck went further. He said, I said the government did it. When what I said was, they have done it over and over again. It's been declassified. And so we have to look at them as the prime suspects. And my point is, they do not want us as a culture to even think that, hey, who really stands to gain? Who gets to sell a police state? Who gets to take liberties? Who gets billions every month in no-bid weapons contracts? Who's been caught doing this before? So let's go to that first clip from my little YouTube report I did, where a few hours after I said they'll probably blame it on us, CNN was already trying to do it. So am I a good guy for being right? No, no, no. According to Beck, I'm a bad guy. Let's go to that clip.
And Peter, what are you waiting to hear about in these coming hours?
I think the constituency inside the bomb is going to make a big difference about how we identify the person who did this or the persons who did this. Because if it's hydrogen peroxide, that points to Al-Qaeda. If it's something else, could be a right-wing extremist group or some other group.
I now turn it over to Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room for the latest on.
All right, folks. I went on the radio today, hours before this happened. It's on record. The 15th of April, and I said I can see all the scripting with the TV shows, the movies, where it's the right way. And again, I'm just marveling here tonight, watching my crew who are with their families at home, and I'm not kissing their butt because they're even asking for it. I just want to say I appreciate the crew, and I appreciate you, the listeners and viewers out there, because, you know, my dad was here picking up my son tonight because he was here with me all day to take him home to my wife. And I just looked at my dad and my son walking away, the generation before me, the generation after me, thinking about how they're just little souls like myself who just want a future. And, you know, it's a fact. It's declassified that our government created Al-Qaeda and is running them in Libya and Syria and gave them heat-seeking missiles. And how dare Salon, Media Matters, BBC, Mediaite, and Glenn Beck, and he was the worst, even though I've done an olive branch, to say, how dare unpatriotic Alex Jones say the government did it. I said criminal global mafias are funding terrorist and mentally ill people, and I'm going to show the documents and articles on that, and that who stands to gain if they call for taking our liberties because of this. You know it's staged. And I've been saying soft target attacks are coming because they're teaching police veterans will bomb every police department in America and public events with IEDs. With no proof, and training and saying Christians and gun owners are not the threat. You know, Al-Qaeda's not the threat, the Christians and gun owners are. I had a Freudian slip, we are not the threat. Al-Qaeda, the globalist control system, is. And again, statistically, hundreds of thousands die from bad drug interactions and flesh-eating bacteria a year in the U.S. alone. Why is it so scary? Well, they emotionalize it, they show a guy with his leg blown off, and they create this fear. Hey, we better have Army at every stoplight. We better have checkpoints and body scanners to go in any store because the terrorist hit. This is how an oligarchy takes control of a society. This has been declassified that our government and NATO staged more than 200 terror attacks from the 1960s to 1981 in Europe to blame their political enemies. And they just hope you don't go look it up. Now, let's go over first, before I get into the bombing itself. And again, there's maybe a 5% chance out of 100 that this could be real Muslim terrorists, or I guess there could be some domestic group freaked out that would go stage this. To be clear, I've never seen an Easter bunny, but some say it's real. To be clear, I've never seen Santa Claus, some say it's real. Never seen a unicorn, some say it's real. Now, I don't think it exists, but it may. Same thing with domestic terror groups. I mean, I've interviewed the cops and the people that saw the feds plant the bombs in Oklahoma City. You saw them stage Fast and Furious. Folks, they staged Aurora. They staged Sandy Hook. The evidence is just overwhelming. And that's why I'm so desperate and freaked out. This is not fun. You know, getting up here telling you this. Somebody's got to tell you the truth. Somebody's got to stand against these people. Somebody's got to do it. And I just hope everybody that is watching out there that serves the system, who thinks they're going to get away with all this, I hope you understand that you're not going to get away with this. You get rid of our checks and balances, our protections, you're going to lose yours as well. And you want to throw your children out in the cold, you think you're cold-blooded, you think you're a winner, doing stuff like this, you're not. Now, that said, they were running drills. I haven't even gotten to that yet. They were running drills at the exact time it happened with loudspeakers saying, don't worry, never mind, it's only a drill. It's one thing to have bomb dogs out to add to the atmosphere of the police state and, hey, you need the government. But it's another thing to have them announcing, hey, this is just a drill, don't worry. And then right where the dogs are, 10 minutes later, bombs go off. So we're going to get into all of that. But I think it's important to always start with history, because those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And again, we're live at 7:35 Central here on InfoWars Nightly News for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. And if you are watching, Infowars.com/listen has the free video streams right there for everybody. The articles are up on Infowars.com. And they want to, hour one, have their official story out. We know who the prime suspects are. We know the history of this type of stuff. And we understand what's happening. And so we're here risking our lives, myself, number one. Because there is no future if we let a criminal oligarchy continue to fund terror attacks or allow terror attacks to take place so they can pose as saviors and take our rights. But document cam, please. I want to, before I get into the latest news, I want to show you, I just played that clip of them saying right-wing extremist. And again, they may end up blaming it on Iran, too. They're getting ready to hit Iran, as you know. And I'm not defending Iran. I don't live in Iran. But, I mean, it's on record. False flags have been done against Iran. Our government overthrew the Iranian government by staging terror attacks in Operation Ajax in 1953 that they blamed on the government. They attacked Muslim mosque and said that the kind of quasi-secular leader, Mohammed Mossadegh, had done it. Kermit Roosevelt, CIA, MI6. See, this is all on record, but they just want to say conspiracy theory. Let's go to this. Alex Jones, Boston explosion, a government conspiracy. The fringe see a false flag. It can be blamed on the Tea Party and expand TSA's reach when they're already, they got troops out at kite festivals here in Austin now for Al-Qaeda. Here's another one. Alex Jones declares Boston a false flag operation, FBI behind every domestic terror plot. I'm going to show you the New York Times saying that. The last 100 big plots they've had the last decade were all mentally ill people or purely made-up events, okay? Here's the blaze. With absolutely no evidence, even though we've got history, like if somebody's robbed a bank 10 times and then the same MO matches, they're a prime suspect. With no evidence, Alex Jones calls Boston Marathon explosions false flag operation conducted by government. No, my tweet that Watson or whoever put it out with a typo in it said, don't that the FBI, said don't doubt, I guess, has been behind virtually every domestic terror plot in U.S. history, the New York Times reported, and then a link to the New York Times. So there's all this implication. Army training manual lists evangelical Catholics as extremists. Big sis coordinating gun confiscations. Now look at this. CNN national security analyst warns of right-wing extremists behind Boston bombings. That's Peter Bergen, big insider globalist. So there they are, saying exactly what I said they would say. And am I good for being right? No, I'm a piece of crap, according to all these White House groups. And Glenn Beck, who the media promotes, the establishment White House-run media. They promote him by demonizing him. Growing threat of right-wing extremism and violence. I mean, just constant. They're going to attack. There's nothing you can do. On and on and on. Now, let me show you this. This is the New York Times, April 2012, a year ago. Terrorist plots hatched by the FBI. And it goes on to say they manufactured all the recent terror attacks with mentally ill patsies. Okay, that's what we were linking to. That's what we were covering. That's what we were talking about. Okay? Now, Glenn Beck acts like, with no evidence, I'm saying this. You want evidence? Again, they don't want you to ever think that Hitler could have staged terror attacks on his own military bases to launch World War II in Operation Gleiwitz under Operation Himmler. That's declassified Nuremberg trials. They attacked their own bases and blamed it on the Poles. They don't want you to know Vietnam was launched with a staged Gulf of Tonkin, now declassified as staged by our government attacks on our own ships. They don't want you to know about Ajax, Northwoods, Gladio. No, they just want to say, there's Alex Jones, there's the bad man, because I don't like a bunch of foreign banks running our intelligence agencies, staging terror attacks so they can create a monopoly society and overthrow our free republic and our free market. I don't like it when they say the new threat is gun-owning, returning veterans and conservatives and libertarians. Total creepville. And the state police come out last week in Oklahoma and Colorado and say, first Colorado, and say, we've been told to prepare to mass arrest Christians and take their guns. I mean, this is body snatcher level stuff. This is obviously the bad guys in control in a soft coup, trying to roll out a purge of the American people. This isn't a game. Now let's go to this article. Yeah, coach, bombs. Yeah, put that back up. Bomb-sniffing dogs were at start-finish lines at drill, and people spin that and go, well, there's always dogs. No. The local news article says they were on loudspeakers saying it's only a drill. We're going to get to that after we cover this. We're going to get to that in a moment. Let's go back to this article right here. This is just history of it. This is just last week. Italian Supreme Court president blames Bilderberg for terror attack. Document says secretive group was involved in strategy of tension. They've had their former president, their former CIA director, their former prime minister come out and say, and they've released a lot of this in the news, the Bilderberg, this private mafia, this banker mafia, stages terror attacks in Italy and Europe every time we try to get our sovereignty back. They do it and blame their political enemies. Okay? Here's another one. President Hamid Karzai thinks U.S. could be behind the latest Taliban bombings as a pretext to stay in the country. He goes on to say the U.S. created al-Qaeda. Well, that's just a known fact. There's Operation Gladio and the NATO option. Hundreds of staged bombings all over Europe. Okay, look it up, to blame their political enemies. U.S. accused of colluding with Taliban in Afghanistan as President Karzai hijacks Hagel visit. Afghanistan, Karzai blasts U.S. marring Hagel visit, Reuters. And it goes on to say the U.S. staged the events with their al-Qaeda forces. The bombs set off yesterday in the name of the Taliban were in the service of Americans to keep foreigners longer in Afghanistan. Of course, trillions every few years. And it's not the U.S., it's global crime syndicates in control of our country. Now, let's go on to this next stack of news. Here's what Marcos was just showing you on screen. coach, bomb-sniffing dogs were at start and finish lines. People say, well, that's what happens now in the security theater. No. They kept making announcements on the loudspeaker that it was just a drill, just like 9/11, just like Aurora. And there was nothing to worry about, he said. And then now, in fact, I gave this to David when they were on. I forgot to bring it back over here. I need to get it from him. Local news is reporting that there were people there the day before saying, don't be here, you're going to get bombed. Because this stuff gets leaked, just like 9/11. Local news is reporting that people were going, don't sign up for this, they're going to bomb you. That's in local news. And again, if they were running a drill and they weren't staging it, they would normally say, oh, we were there, trying to stop it, what heroes. They had troops there digging people out of the wreckage. You know, all of this is a giant photo op. And it gets worse. One of the biggest pieces of news is Rob Dew has had public arguments in front of me on the phone and via text messages with his wife's brother, who is in domestic defense intelligence operations. We'll just leave it at that. And, I mean, it's such a huge thing. It's like having somebody that works at Walmart in your family. I mean, it's just millions of people involved in this spy network. And, you know, he sends him like, here's the photo of bin Laden. See, it's real. And it's the fake bin Laden put out with the Daily Mail. And we send him back the message going, no, that's the fake one. No, I'm not going to look at it. I saw something else. Because they give them the fake ones as well. People in intelligence are even more brainwashed than those without it. He was running in the Army team, the official Army team, brought in by an Army truck. He's a marathon champion. I mean, Dew's been with him on vacation when he runs, gets up at 3 a.m. and runs 20 miles before breakfast. They come to the line a few minutes before the bombing, and they say, get out of line. You're sick. You're going to the hospital. And he goes, what? And they go, that's an order. And they take him out of the line. I guess friends took care of him, huh? I mean, this is just off the chart, and Dew has already talked about it. And Dew, you were in a band with Joe Stack that flew his plane into the into the IRS building. I mean, this is crazy. You want to come over here and talk? Hey, have you finally gotten more intel on what happened with your brother-in-law?
I have not. They haven't heard from him yet. Apparently, he's at the hospital, and his wife was on his way to meet up with him. And that's the last that I've heard. But with the Joe Stack thing, it was my neighbor's band, and I would go sit in. But, yeah, I knew Joe Stack, which is pretty weird.
Oh, we released the video, with you playing with him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, have I not every day been, and then privately this morning I was freaking out. They're going to do something today.
Oh, yeah.
The crew's like, how the hell? I could see it all. I could feel it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just these dead people.
And I can tell you're stressed, too, because your voice is definitely, like, cracking more. I mean, you're definitely, this is definitely weighing on you right now. I can tell.
Well, because they're going to do it all over. If this beta test works, they're going to go full bore, declare us all terrorists. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's the authoritarian takeover of America, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because they can't have us free when they bring in the world government.
Right.
I mean, what do you think? What are your points? I'm going to get into this other news.
I think the biggest thing is, well, this is interesting, too. This Boston runners were warned. That coach just getting on there and saying, this other article, bomb-sniffing dogs were there.
Yeah, but that's not even the issue. They kept making announcements on the loudspeaker that it was just a drill. The Madrid bombing, 7/7 in London, every event, Rob.
Yeah.
Every event.
There's always a drill. It's always...
Because if people say, why does that matter? Because they cover the funding in the drill, and it's compartmentalized.
Right.
If people catch them, they say it's a drill like Putin
Well, and then
did.
they get some guy, drug him up, or they plan him like the FBI's been caught doing, and we showed that article, too.
Well, look at this coming out. Boston runners were warned, and this is being reported in the local news, that people were walking around the day before saying, you're going to die if you're part of this. Because this stuff leaks. People always say, well, if something like this happened, it would come out, people would speak. They always do.
Yeah, it just gets buried. It always gets buried in the back of the news.
And again, we now have TSA checkpoints where we live. They now have Army at public events.
Well, this is a big excuse to do this. I mean, that's the, there was bombings at the Boston Marathon. We got to have TSA.
They want to control travel because they're going to do such horrible stuff, taking the pension funds and stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to want to keep people on watch lists out of the central city.
Right.
Because they know people are going to be so mad when your neighbor disappears, your kid disappears, that you're going to go on a vendetta against government.
Right.
And they're already telling the bureaucrats, you're going to be all right, we're going to take care of you. I've talked to police all over the country. You know, when they got the tanks in East St. Louis protecting the city council, they've told them, don't worry, during this time, we'll protect you.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a takeover. This is Vichy France being taken over by the Nazis.
And it's conditioning, because the people that they interviewed in St. Louis were saying, I feel safer that they're around. I feel safer. I think crime's going to drop.
You know what I want to air?
Begging for it.
I want to air your report tonight. Remember I told you this morning?
Yeah.
On the nightly news, we're going to talk about martial law, but I want to air your report about troops trained to kill gun owners.
All right.
I want to play that before we go back to the guys to take phone calls.
Okay. I'll go.
Thanks, buddy. Good job. And I know I appreciate you working so hard, dude. Anyways, getting back to what I was saying. You know, I don't even need to sit here and convince people about this. You've seen every drama, every sitcom, every show, Pillsbury ads where the TSA gropes you. The bad guys are conservative libertarians, gun owners. They're going to attack. They work with Al-Qaeda. Just asinine stuff. And now this happens. And it's photo finish, Boston Marathon. They either wound up some real extremist and let them do it, like the New York Times reports, where the feds cooked the bomb, trained the drivers in the World Trade Center bombing back in the early 90s. Or they stage the whole deal and we'll burn a patsy. No Tea Party person would work with Al-Qaeda like they're trying to claim. And Saudi Arabia, this is the most important point, Saudi Arabia and the West are like this. I mean, they are peas in a pod. They are absolutely together on this thing. And our government is running Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. I declared Obama the head of Al-Qaeda worldwide last month. I mean, he is. I mean, our government, but it's so off the script. It's like, yeah, it's in the LA Times. Our government runs Al-Qaeda and they're ethnically cleansing Christians in Syria. I mean, chopping their heads off, you name it. It's like, oh, well, they're nobody. Yeah, chopping their heads off. But, oh, the Boston Marathon, let's personalize it. And then it's okay to get sad. And everybody's like, on our Patriots Day, they're on the news going, America got hit on Patriots Day, but we're getting behind the government now to do what it takes to keep America successful. I mean, this is nothing but the occupational government. Bottom line, you've seen all the scripting. You've seen the buildup. You've seen us tell you it's coming. And it's just thoroughly disgusting. Let's go back over some of these articles. coach, bomb-sniffing dogs were at start-finish lines for drill. And people are like, well, they already got dogs. Again, making announcements on the loudspeaker that it was just a drill. There was nothing. Oh, we have the announcements on video? Oh, my God. Let's play those video clips right now. Unbelievable. We have the announcements. We're doing all this live, so we'll get those clips. I was told we had that, but, you know, these stupid computers. But that's all up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And again, folks, I don't want to risk my life for them to win. I wouldn't be risking my life if I didn't think we could get out of this. I mean, I am willing to be set up or destroyed just so our future isn't run by whoever will stage terror attacks and whoever runs the media and the military-industrial complex run by foreign banks stages an attack, and then all of the, prostitute media goes along with it, and it just goes on and on. Do we have that clip? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the coach talking about it. Let's go ahead and play it then.
At the start line this morning, they had bomb spotters on the roofs of the building, and they had bomb-sniffing dogs coming up and down at the start line. And Melanie said there was bomb-sniffing dogs at the finish line, but they kept making announcements saying to the participants, do not worry, this is just a training exercise. Well, evidently, I don't believe they were just having a training exercise. I think they must have known. They must have had some kind of threats or suspicions called in.
I bet they had a threat. Well, they'll get to grandstand as our saviors. Again, the narrative that veterans will attack every police station in America that's been put out for 4 years is a fraud to frame the American people against this takeover. And they may be going back to the script because no one would buy that right-wingers are terrorists. They may be going back to the al-Qaeda script. They're saying it could be al-Qaeda. But again, our government runs al-Qaeda on record and puts them in Libya and Syria and gives them 10,000 heat-seeking, shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles. So none of this holds water. Here's the other articles up at Infowars.com. Eyewitnesses, authorities announced drill before Boston explosions. UM coach thought it was odd. Bomb-sniffing dogs were at the start and finish lines. Great headline, Watson. Working until midnight tonight, your time. But the big issue is the announcements. That's unprecedented. And they said it was a drill, not security. So that's just some of the news. Here it is, authorities ID, not servants, authorities. They're an authority, you're not. ID suspect is Saudi national in marathon bombings under guard at Boston Hospital. Well, if it turns out to be Saudi Arabian Muslims that did it, Wahhabist, let's invade Iran, the Shiite country. We invaded Iraq, the quasi-secular Ba'athist party. In fact, why don't we invade Australia? You know what? I mean, can you bring me the globe in from another office? We've got a bunch, guys. Maybe we just spin the globe, because last time they blamed Iraq and planted WMDs on them. Maybe we just spin the globe, cover our eyes, and touch it. And if it's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, we go nuke the Indian Ocean. And show film going, flying fish did it. Because, or those whales did it. Because this is the type of crap that I'm talking about here. This is the type of unmitigated garbage that we're dealing with as a society. Oh, yeah, spotters on the roofs, everything. Well, everything's a national security event. And just like Madrid, where it came out in Spain, the government did it and had to step down on 333. By the way, that was the first time I ever went on Coast to Coast AM. It was the day of the Madrid bombing. It had been set up for weeks. I'm on Coast to Coast AM for 3 hours tomorrow night. And obviously, we'll be talking about all this and a lot more, coasttocoastam.com. It's just unbelievable that stuff like this is going on. And again, you've got the former head of Italian intelligence. You've got all their Supreme Court coming out saying the West is staging these terror attacks. It is, piece of paper. It is off the charts. And we're going to play a report here by Rob Dew from last year that's had 2.5 million views, dealing with the Army manual saying they're trained to kill gun owners. I mean, folks, if you've studied military history, when the government's training the police and military that gun owners are terrorists, and the preachers need to tell them to go to the FEMA camp when it's time, and the military's training for gun confiscation, that is off-the-chart creepville. So even if they try to blame this on Saudi Arabia, they're trying to gauge things right now. The media has already tried to lump right-wing extremism, gun owners, conservatives in with Al-Qaeda by saying it'll be Al-Qaeda or it'll be right-wingers. What, it's not the Mexican mafia that's killed 60,000 people in Mexico, thousands in the U.S.? It's not even white supremacists that have killed people. It's not some other group. No, it's automatically right-wingers, which means anti-globalists, not fake right-wingers, but, you know, more libertarian types they call right-wingers, or it's Al-Qaeda. Because there's only one thing worse than Al-Qaeda, that's a returning veteran or a gun owner or grandma that we hadn't been able to kill yet. So So Saudi Arabia, 15 of the 19 hijackers. NORAD stands down. Saudi Arabia, right over here, Saudi Arabia doesn't get attacked on 9/11. Iraq, 2 years later, gets invaded and blamed for it. Now they're trying to say Iran's behind al-Qaeda when they hate them more than they hate us, the mullahs. They're Shiite. See, this is Wahhabist. This is Sunni. Not all Sunnis are bad, by the way, just the ones the globalists fund. And they've sent out of Saudi Arabia into Syria, into Libya, all over the world, into Afghanistan, Pakistan. They send the British intelligence brigades that the British set up over 100 years ago, Lawrence of Arabia, into all these places to destabilize. And then our government, the globalists, bomb and attack all these countries to go after their own people. They put them in, and then they were so dumb they attack Shiites and Baathists, saying it's to stop al-Qaeda. It's the opposite group that comes out of Saudi Arabia. So 9/11 happened, and they didn't go after Saudi Arabia, who supplied the cutouts. The globalists actually ran it. The big banks ran it. They went after Iraq. And now they're putting al-Qaeda from Saudi Arabia in charge of Libya and Syria and using al-Qaeda to threaten the West so they can take our rights over here. Bombings all over Europe, bombings in the U.S., blaming it on al-Qaeda so they can take our rights when they actually run al-Qaeda. Now, if it ends up being Saudi Arabia, do you think they're going to attack Saudi Arabia? No, they're not. They're going to attack Iran. And ignore the fact that our government's funding al-Qaeda and sponsoring them out of Saudi Arabia into Syria, into other areas. So now let's do this on air. I'm going to close my eyes. Instead of attacking Iran, and they said they could start World War III, I'll just spin the wheel like they did blaming Iraq, and then we'll just attack whoever we randomly pick. Maybe this is how the Pentagon chooses people. 3 spins. Okay, Ethiopia. We will now nuke Ethiopia. That's where that came from. Does it matter it came from here? Isn't that funny? I spun it 3 times. It was still close to there. Hey, let's spin it again. You know what? Let's try it again. Let's see what happens now. Uh-oh. St. Vincent and the Grenada. Grenada did it. Attack them. Almost Venezuela. They did it. Attack. It's weird. I keep spinning this and picking globalist enemies. Let's try again. Okay. New Guinea. New Guinea is the enemy. They ran al-Qaeda. No one but Saudi Arabia and the West. We'll attack no one. Here, let's spin it again. Oops. There you go. Here, let's try it again. We'll attack 2 places this time. Okay. New Hanover is an island. We'll attack it. And the Chagos Archipelagos oil islands. We'll nuke them. They did it. Here, let's spin it again. Anybody that the West has a history of staging terror, Saudi Arabia works with them. Let's not attack them. Let's. Uh-oh, Canada. Folks, time to nuke Canada, right? Blame Canada, right there, nuke them. That's northern Canada. Luckily, not too big a population right there. We'll just blow that up right there, because that's who did it. I mean, hell, CNN said so. There you go. You guys like my targeting, how I pick targets? But, okay, I got to say, Badandi, you know, Badandi's awesome, but, you know, his wife and child were up there in Rhode Island. I felt bad. A lot of these reporters that I ended up hiring came down here, and, you know, it was family stuff. Families in Rhode Island, families in New Jersey. There's family stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to get in the way of families. But he still does reports every week for us as a auxiliary reporter. And he does a great job. Badandi's got a lot of heart. I haven't even gotten to Dan Badandi. Getting on Fox, asking the police commissioner about the drills. And then I talked to Badandi before I went on air here, and I said, okay, there's another press conference. Get in and ask him about false flag. Do we have that video coming in? All right, well, just whatever you get, just make sure they air it coming up in the next segment. And obviously, I'm very exhausted. I'm not complaining. I went to bed at midnight last night. I woke up at 4 a.m., couldn't sleep. I never used to be like that. I just have been totally freaked out. And I'm not complaining, but I am pretty tired right now, pretty punch drunk. I should have had more coffee. Last coffee I had was at about 1. And I'm going to go to sleep here in a couple hours and get up and deal with all this, because when they lock my ass up, knock on wood, I hope they don't, or kill me, I mean, I don't have any time to talk to you anymore. They say there's no rest for the wicked. I don't feel very wicked. I just want justice. I mean, I'm so sick of the obvious PR rollout for this stuff. I mean, it's so obvious. And I just want my country back. I mean, it's just the gullibility of this nation and the West is what has allowed all of this to unfold. Did Badandi get his question in? You want to come in here? Come on in here. This is very powerful. What I could do, you know, Badandi is kind of like a wild man like I am, but he's a real guy. That's what we like about him. Yeah. Tell me about Badandi.
Okay, I'm just getting this from John Bound. He just called me. He said Badandi got his question in on the press conference to the governor. It's actually the governor of Massachusetts. Asked him if it was a false flag. He said, no, next question, real quick, cut him off. And then apparently he's still asking questions. He's not shutting up. You know, he's being Badandi. You know, basically that's it. And so we're grabbing that footage. It's on Fox is where we're grabbing it right now. We'll have it up. When we go back to the other guys over on the other side, we're going to connect with them. I think we're on that.
Be honest with me. I want the listeners to realize what they're viewing. This is history.
Oh, yeah, this is it. I mean, this is all the pieces apparently have come together. You know, Badandi going up northeast, you know. It's all
no, but I mean, not even that. Just the fact that I use the cheesy analogy of the trench run with X-Wings. I mean, this is it.
This is it.
I hope people sitting at home realize, I mean.
And we need your tips, too. You know, people out there scouring the internet. Like when Sandy Hook happened, like all the great research that people were doing out there, putting it out on their own, not waiting for us to put it out.
Hey, it's shaking the system up.
Yeah, I mean.
Because they're targeting totally dumbed down people that buy anything. And more people just don't buy anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is just, I mean, I think it's amazing. Just the amount of research people have done on Colorado and Sandy Hook is just, you know.
I'm just glad that when I die, I didn't die a coward. You two do. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just that, I mean, we don't even pat ourselves on the back, though. The build-up where every show,
we got that clip.
The Liberty people are terrorists.
We got the Jakari piece where he shows just every single instance where.
Well, that's just locally, lately. Yeah, you want to play that?
Yeah, well, this is the one that has that TV show, The Following, where the guy goes, I'm a constitutional extremist.
And the top psycho's like, whoa, that's the most evil thing. I like that.
And John,
he did one with a bunch of clips. Is this the little one or the big one?
This is the little one of that with a bunch of others. Because you and David Knight talked about it, and that one's up on YouTube. But then this is one that...
Yeah, Green Lantern fights the militia.
Right. It's got Green
Lantern. It's like before World War II when they figured out they were going to fight the Germans. Suddenly for the year before, we're going to fight the Germans began.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's, we're going to fight the veterans and gun owners.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay.
All the cartoon guys were fighting guys with pointed helmets in the 1940s. That was part of that build-up to that.
It's all on, well, like right before 9/11, they had the Pearl Harbor movie.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go ahead and go to that clip. Here it is.
The cell tower linked to your wife is near a roadside motel on Highway 31.
Typically, there's 5 to 6 agents per safe house in a designated area away from the other guests.
I'm thinking an M17 or my micro Uzi with a silencer.
You ex-military? I don't know. We're better than that.
They were both raised by militia. Well, constitutional extremists, to be accurate.
The Following, a Fox TV series starring Kevin Bacon, is the latest television program to demonize the militia. I'm Jakari Jackson with an InfoWars News Bulletin. Even though the Constitution guarantees the rights of a well-regulated militia, that has not stopped the mass media from portraying the militia in a negative light. Let's take a look at these clips where the hero fights militia antagonist.
Next Thursday, to save a young boy's life, Michael Weston takes on a militia.
They are locked down tight.
An unknown number of heavily armed militiamen have taken over the mine.
Plan to use the salt mine as their base during the Second American Revolution, which is, they claim, imminent.
More shows still, such as the in development We Hate Paul Revere and Founding Fathers.
The real programming is happening with these shows like Founding Fathers, where the guy that's pro-gun in Texas and leading the militia, he's really Al-Qaeda, which fits into the whole narrative that, oh, it's white Al-Qaeda or gun owners are really Al-Qaeda.
InfoWars has also documented subliminal propaganda in television shows such as AMC's Breaking Bad.
One example is AMC's Breaking Bad television series, as it depicts a meth villain as a Ron Paul supporter.
And we'll end with a clip of Alex Jones warning of such propaganda in his film Road to Tyranny. I'm Jakari Jackson with an InfoWars News Bulletin.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Look at this guy. You know, he's talking about the Founding Fathers and people that are committed. He's talking about constitutional terrorists. Before that, the cops are so conditioned, they say, who are the terrorists? Who are the first terrorists? The Founding Fathers. They all know. They all say Founding Fathers. Again, we're not trying to take credit for predicting all this. It's not hard. It's like I predict the sun comes up at 6:45 tomorrow morning. I mean, it's designed for the most dumbed-down population. I can go home tonight, turn on any drama, and it'll be, they won't take vaccines, they're child molesters, or they don't trust the government, they've murdered children, or they don't trust the government, they're racist, or they're homeschooled. and it's like, or let's laugh at Charlton Heston. He's a murderer. You know, like Jim Carrey said. It's just ham-fisted propaganda. But see, I didn't get into comic books. I got into history books and girls. But, I mean, other than kind of a mixed deal. But I know, because I started reading history books, and every page was like battles and wars and subterfuge, and this guy did this to that guy, and this secret society. I mean, Roman history, Nazis, communists. I mean, I couldn't put it down. I mean, I was like 15 and read Gulag Archipelago because it was action-packed. I mean, you know, this is a guy in a forced labor camp. And I just, by the grace of God, learned all this stuff. And now I sit here watching the exact playbook. I mean, I was reading where AP has hired North Korean propagandists to help them advise them on how to run the AP. And I saw that the other day in mainstream news. I mean, I can't even believe that. Our government hired the former head of the Stasi, the worst police state in human history up until the time, the East German Stasi, Marcus Wolf, to set up Homeland Security. I mean, obviously the government's super bad when they teach state police nationwide, the Christians are terrorists. We're going to have to arrest them en masse. And here's the Army manual for forced labor camps. I mean, obviously, whoa, they're going to stage something. They've done it before. We've got to do something. And it's just creepy to know now that it's not just White House-run groups like Media Matters and BBC Connected that are demonizing me right now, but Glenn Beck again. And it just is really despicable. I've covered a lot of this news. I want to throw it back for 30 minutes to Jakari Jackson and to David Knight and the rest of the great crew that's working so hard. We got to shut this down in the next hour so everybody can get back, get some sleep. We have a limited crew. We're not CNN or Fox News or MSNBC funded by big corporate donors and tax money and stuff like MSNBC especially. We're funded by viewers like you. Please don't forget, we're sending free streams out of all this. The video is very expensive. Be sure and support InfoWarsStore.com. Get a PrisonPlanet.tv membership. Buy the books, the videos. Support us so we can be strong and do more of this. That's always essential. Buy your war bonds. But in a few minutes, we'll go to this. Then when I come back, we'll have the new clips of Dan Bidandi talking to the governor of Massachusetts about false flags and what happened in the aftermath of that. Great job, Dan. And I will get to the other newscast and things. But are they ready to make the switch to the other studio? Yeah, why don't you just play my video intro where they try to blame right-wingers? Remember that one? Or just pick something. The key to being live is, let's just pick something and go with it here. Just whatever. We'll go ahead and go to the other. Yeah, this is the earlier Dan Bidandi footage where he got into the press conference and brought up the drills with myself and Leanne McAdoo and Rob Dew, and then we'll go to the other crew for 30 minutes, and I'll come back with final points and final clips. Let's go to that.
Hey guys, Leanne McAdoo here at the Austin, Texas InfoWars News Center. Our East Coast reporter Dan Bidandi is on the scene, and he was able to get in this question at the news conference.
We are looking at all of that right now. That's one of the investigative steps that we're taking.
They said they were doing drills this morning for the same exact thing that happened on BostonGlobe.com. Now, were you guys given any warning ahead of time of this taking place?
As I said earlier, there was no specific intelligence. We certainly increase posture around a big event like this. All of those things happened in preparation for this event, but there was no specific intelligence that anything was going to happen.
Now, we've got that story on our Infowars.com website, and you can check it out, follow up with more.
Absolutely, folks. It's all breaking there, and a live feed is at Infowars.com/listen. A live video feed is there for everyone with Jakari Jackson, David Knight, myself, and the rest of the crew, Rob Dew, John Bound, the entire crew here, Adon Salazar, Kurt Nimmo. They're all there right now covering all of this, and Leanne McAdoo is also on top of it as well. So this is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, because so many of these past events have been false flags. We've got to study this and see if it is, because they want to have this total rollout of the police state, an excuse to carry that out. Leanne, what else are you working on?
Well, I've got some stories coming up about the drone strikes. Obama had just flat out lied about how many people had been struck with the drones. Maybe that's why we got this, to distract people. So.
All right, great job. Dude, what else are you working on?
Well, I'm going to try to follow up and see what happened with my brother-in-law, who was actually running in the marathon.
For the Army.
For the Army.
And he's in intelligence. Tell folks what happened with him.
Right, and apparently he got pulled out early of the race. They said he was dehydrated. So I'm trying to get a hold of him right now. I've been throwing texts back and forth.
You got to go to the hospital. They came to him.
Right. They pulled him out of the race, sent him to the hospital, said he was dehydrated. And
wasn't that nice? In fact, Leanne, search engine real quick. Mayor Willie Brown got warning not to fly on 9/11.
Right.
It's the second link, San Francisco Chronicle.
Yeah, Condoleezza Rice actually warned and gave him a phone call, personal phone call, which he said he didn't make much, didn't think much of it then. You know, when the Secretary of the National Security calls you and tells you not to fly, I guess it's not a big deal, you know. So there you go. And now we also have reports. The U of M coach, the cross-country coach, said that
they had loudspeakers. Yeah, that's up on Infowars.com.
Right.
They had loudspeakers on there openly announcing, hey, it's just a drill, don't worry about the dogs. And then you can also go to, again, yeah, that's a saved version of it. Willie Brown got low-key warning not to travel, but if you actually go back, and good job finding that live here on the fly, we're basically taping this live. There it is, San Francisco Chronicle. Boom! Willie Brown got low-key early warning about air travel. And again, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are supposed to fly to New York, and we're told not to. I mean, this is incredible. And again, if your brother or your brother-in-law, your wife's brother, again, you say he's a great marathon guy.
Yeah, he's in
20 miles for breakfast, you name it. Boom, this happens. Very suspicious. We need to ask him, you know, were you really, quote, sick? Why'd they pull you out?
Right.
So you're getting this secondhand through your wife who talked to him. All right, well, that's it for this report. Great job to the entire crew. And great job doing the work you're doing, and great job to all the listeners getting us the tips. Follow us at Twitter at Real Alex Jones, ladies and gentlemen. The investigation continues, because you better believe they're not going to let this crisis go to waste. All right, folks, here we are. It is 8:53 Central Standard Time with InfoWars Nightly News Extended live coverage here this evening. I'm going to wrap this up very, very soon so our limited crew can get some rest before tomorrow. But this has all the telltale signs of being a staged event. This has all the telltale signs of being a false flag, or at least a provocateur event, a crisis they won't let go to waste. But if you've seen how many times the military-industrial complex and its foreign owners have provocateured or staged events to take our liberties, it would make your head spin. And that's why I'm glad that we have been here as real media challenging the official narrative tonight. That's why I'm glad that we have been here to point out, hey, we have a group that has staged hundreds of false flag terror attacks and thousands of medical experiments, many of them lethal, against foster kids, minorities, veterans, the general public. And so they have a motive and a history of acting like this. That's why they're in control, because they're ruthless. And they love the image of running, screaming, scared crowds and Papa government, Mama government, there to protect everybody. Now, our East Coast reporter, Dan Badandi, who's a real bear when it comes to taking action, he charged in there, and at one press conference earlier today asked about the drills they had, and then in another with the governor brought up false flag. You can see the InfoWars flag with his microphone up there, and he got the first question in, and they ended the press conference a few minutes into it. Only went like 2 minutes when O'Reilly and Fox and CNN and MSNBC were all carrying it. We have TVs all over this office. It was all on there. And they ended it because the governor was like freaking out. They shut this press conference down. And of course, you notice the governor knows what a false flag is to take our liberties. He didn't say, what's that? He went, no, we're not doing this for that. I mean, this whole thing stinks to high heaven. And the cops everywhere have been caught attacking their own officers as a pretext to arrest protesters. This is one step up from that. Blow a few legs off. Everybody gets pay raises. Everybody's heroes. And it's the oldest trick in the book, and no one wants us to discuss that. Oh, it's so preposterous. Who would ever imagine that somebody would stage something to get power? Why, that never happens. Reichstag, Nero, burning Rome, fiddling. I mean, there's so many examples of this, so they want us to not talk about something that's a known phenomenon and who has the motive out there. So let's go to Dan Badandi. Here it is.
Have you take any questions?
Oh, sir, Michael Lewinsky is telling people in New York and stuff, be calm, Lewinsky bought a bomb went off. Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties, homeland security? I was thinking of hands down on the kids on the streets.
No. Next question.
You have said that there's no suspect.
The morning, the medical people are compiling that as we speak.
Again, when we speak, it's on people to be characterizing active terrorism.
Extent of the injuries.
Main point of focus right now.
Okay, when you're something on speakers telling people to be calm before the bomb went off. I'd like to answer that question.
Currently in your search for additional devices, are you searching the entire room?
So the investigation is in the area that the governor mentioned.
Why are people going off?
Are there any unaccounted for people? If so, how is it?
We're actually working very closely with the families right now. We're going through those right now.
Why was people being told prior?
9:30 tomorrow morning will be the next briefing. Thank you.
The bombs going off the same
Go right there.
That's a false flag, gentlemen.
This is Piers Morgan Live. I want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to CNN's team coverage.
And then you've got the military creeping around. 400 members of the military there. And, of course, didn't keep you safe from it, did it? And then they're saying, could it be Saudi Arabia, the group our government runs, the group our government lets attack Libya and Syria? Well, I just want to say again, because they work really hard, and I want everybody to know how hard we're working to get you the truth. Our entire group of staff, reporters, IT people, everybody, and you, the listeners that spread the word about prisonplanet.com, prisonplanet.tv, infowars.com, we couldn't do any of this. We couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for the support of the viewers like you. And this is a real operation. This is teleprompter free. We use history as our guide, justice as our North Star, and liberty as our destination. And I have 3 children. I have a great wife. I have a great family. I'm, quite frankly, endangering them to do this, because I realize there's no future, there's no shore to land on, there's no destination if we don't reverse this entire criminal tide in this course. We can't turn society and the whole world over to the very worst people in our culture and in our world. And if we act like cowards and grovel for tyranny every time there's an event, there will be people that will supply us with events so they can pose as the drama queens. We are not the United States of drama queening. We are the United States of America, And we are the big imperial empire, so everybody wants to seize us. And the empire's murdering and bombing and slaughtering people en masse everywhere. It's going to stage a few stimuluses against itself as the pretext to go out against the world. And a lot of people say, well, so what? We're an empire. We get the money from it. No, we don't. We pay for the empire. We don't even get the spoils. So even if you are a wannabe globalist and a corrupt person, a thief, you're not part of the winning team if you join the New World Order. You're a schmuck. You're a sucker. You're a dupe. You're someone lying to themselves that they're part of the power structure. All right, that's it for this extended. We did 5 hours of radio today, and the other guys did 3 or 4 hours. And then we've done a couple hours here, so I don't know, how many hours? From 11 a.m. to now, how many hours is that?
It's 10 hours.
10 hours of transmission here for a news crew that would normally run a small-town station. And again, great job to everybody. We're reaching millions of people. And history's happening. We don't have to sit by while the globalists, provocateurs, stage events and do this. And so tomorrow we'll continue with the free video feed, where there's always free audio feeds for everybody at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com/listen. You can also find the free links at The Real Alex Jones on Twitter, so be sure and follow us there. I'm going to go sleep for a few hours, get up, doing the daytime show tomorrow, then extra coverage, and then I'm doing 3 hours overnight, Coast to Coast AM, on this subject and others. So be sure and join us for that. And without further ado, it's 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Pacific. We'll know a lot more tomorrow, so join me at 11 a.m. Central for the kickoff of the official InfoWars Alex Jones radio show. And until then, I'm Alex Jones signing off. Remember, if you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance.
And the other thing I think I'd say is that if this does turn out to be terrorism, don't immediately jump to conclusions about who's responsible. There's some... It's more than rumour, it's chatter from within the intelligence services that suggests that it might not be what one's mind perhaps leaps to of Islamic radicals, but that it could be homegrown extremists who, of course, have attacked in the past within America.
Indeed, one recalls the Oklahoma bomb, of course, which was attributed initially to Islamic terrorists and turned out to be homegrown.
Yes, exactly, and there's reports that happened on the night, and I'm saying reports because I just haven't had time to check it out, that happened also on Patriot Day, which is today, the first Monday in April. So that might have a special significance. And we know that the Homeland Security have, ever since President Obama was elected, been on potential alert for an incident that came from the right, as well as, of course, their continual alert about potential Islamic terrorism.
I said that was it for the show, but I hadn't seen that clip. I saw the article about it. And again, they're all saying this, and then I'm going, they're going to blame us. And then Glenn Beck says I'm bad to say that, along with Media Matters in the White House. I mean, I don't know who they're going to end up blaming for it, but I know who the prime suspect is and who stands again, who has a history of this, and who runs al-Qaeda worldwide, who's putting al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. All right, that is officially the end of the transmission. See you back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central. Please pray for us and for America and for those that were attacked. I'll pray for you. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.